Drake Maye named the starter this week against the Texans, the team that leads the league in pressure rate.
Oh my God,
this season so far, because Jacoby Brissett wasn't playing well enough, which was kind of like what we all said, right? It's like he wasn't playing well enough.
What was expected?
What was expected, yeah, because of talent around him. So what do we make of this news here?
Well, I disagreed with playing Drake Maye from the very beginning for the New England Patriots for the reasons you just laid out. And also, you're playing against the Texans' highest pressure rate. But the New England Patriots, regardless of who you play, you're going to be facing a lot of pressure with that group up front. And I really do think that first taste – it's like when I bring my 2-year-old to the beach, my wife is always like, be careful. Don't put her in the waves. Put her next to the waves. Let her decide when she wants to get in the waves. Because if you get pitted by that wave the first time you go to the beach, you're going to have a little bit of fear of stepping off the sand. So for a guy like Drake Maye, who is immensely talented, there was a reason he got picked there. They see a future for him in New England. Let's not piss in the punch bowl here with Drake Maye. Get through this season. Jacoby Brissett, let him go earn his dough. Continue to earn that money. He's a guy that probably isn't going to get an opportunity elsewhere. This is the situation where you play Jacoby Brissett. I don't agree with Drake Maye playing. That being said, do I think it's going to be terrible? No. I think Drake Maye battles. I think we see a guy who goes out there and puts his physical tools on display. I think he's a headier player than a lot of people give him credit for. And this is this happens with these physically gifted quarterbacks, these big guys. You'd say he's so big and physical. I do it with Josh Allen all the time. You fail to recognize that these guys are actually really bright football players too. I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited to see how he responds to the pressure of playing against the Texans.
So, guys, going into the season, I was right where you were at, Kyle. He should sit on the bench the entire year, learn what it means to be a pro. And Mike, you can speak to this too, because I know you break down a lot of players in regards to the draft. When I broke his film down, footwork was all over the place. His top half didn't match his bottom half. But the funny thing is, guys, during preseason, I saw him fix a lot of those issues, right? And he actually played really well in preseason. So I actually was on the other side, Kyle. I thought he should have started the season, right? Just because when you draft how they drafted, right? When you take 2 receivers in the top 4 rounds, you want that young quarterback to be able to build that rapport with those receivers because they are the future of this team. Yes, there's a lack of protection up front. Yes, there's a lack of talent on this team. But my thing is rip the Band-Aid off. The only way to get better as a young quarterback is to actually play. Now, again, you talked about the pressure rate he's going to face this week versus the Houston Texans. You don't want him under duress, right? So you have to be smart in regards to how you play him. Maybe you keep 12 personnel and you protect and maybe take some shots down the field with Jalen Pope, get DeMario Douglas involved, get Javon Baker involved every once in a while. Run the football. I mean, their backs, Ramondre Stevenson has fumbled the ball a lot, but they're running hard and with purpose. Like
takes
Antonio,
a toll on a defense.
Yeah, Antonio Gibson, the way he's been able to run when he's been able to be called upon, Ramondre Stevenson has run the ball. I was just talking to Mike. I was like, why didn't New England keep running the ball on Sunday? Like, both of their running backs were running really well. Like, that's the easiest way to take pressure off a quarterback. And you're going to put Drake Maye now in that situation. You have to be effective running the football. Continue to run the football. Don't put that quarterback in spread offense where he's going to get teed off on by this defensive line from the Houston Texans. Honestly, don't mind the move. I just think it should have been done earlier. That way he can grow as a player because, like I was saying before, a lot of issues that I feared for him, he kind of worked on some of those throughout the offseason training camp and also in preseason. Now I want to see it when the live bullets are going. Can he continue to progress in this New England offense?
There's a couple of things that I want to hit on. One is that I think it's almost counterintuitive that the worse Jacoby Brissett plays, the less likely I want Drake Maye to play. Because it's like, Jacoby Brissett, you have, 8 years now of him in the NFL, Correct. Knowing what he is. Like, whether it was with the Colts, whether it was with Browns, there's multiple stops. He's at a level of play. And he's playing obviously well below that. But it's because the situation around him is as bad as it's been in his NFL career. So that, the fact that he's not playing well should not be actually an argument for starting Drake Maye. It should be an argument against starting him. But then the whole other point about developing quarterbacks and why don't you start them? Why don't we want him to start them? Is because we've seen from guys in the past who sit, whether it was Lamar Jackson until the end of his first year, then becomes an MVP year 2, whether it was Patrick Mahomes who didn't play until week 17 his rookie year and then MVP year 2. It's if a guy has it, he has it, and the year 1 sitting doesn't change that either way, but it's the risk you run of developing bad habits when a guy maybe isn't quite there with his footwork. And I know he has improved it, but it's like when he's thinking about other things besides just playing the game of football, that's when you can develop bad habits. So no one's going to look back and say, I'm glad he started right now. You know, like there's no upside to this. But I also do think Drake Maye is going to be fine. Like, I don't think he's going to be like Bryce Young. He's dealt with really bad offensive lines throughout his career at North Carolina.
His last year.
Yeah, his pressure rate at North Carolina, 36.9% would be 9th highest in the NFL right now.
People were wondering why he fell off his senior year relative to his senior year.
So, like, he's done it. It's not a massive issue for him to be playing behind this. It's not like he was, you know, kind of like what Bryce Young was playing behind these offensive lines where he just gets to sit back there all day. No, he already had to make quick decisions. So I don't think it's going to be that big a deal, but also it's like, he just didn't have to. You know, you're expecting too much out of him right now, putting this expectation to turn it around when it's probably not going to.
I wonder if they're expecting him to turn it around, or I wonder if they're getting a head start on next year.
Like 100%. I think this is all about developing for next year. And what I talked about earlier, like starting to build that rapport with Jalen Polk, who's going to probably be your number one in the future, right? Even Hunter Henry, who can be a safety blanket for a quarterback. That's another guy he needs to really lean into once he is the starter this week versus the Houston Texans. So I don't think this has anything about turning the season around this year. It's about the future.
Getting the feet wet.
Get the feet wet. You know, the only way to get better as a football player is to actually play football.
Now, the one thing, you know, I'll finish this thing off with, if you are going to throw a rookie quarterback out there, and you mentioned Bryce Young, I would rather have it be a guy that's built like Drake Maye, a guy that's
100%.
A guy that's physically gifted, deals with pressure a lot differently than a guy who can sometimes get into a shell, you know, clam up a little bit. And for guys like Josh Allen, they sometimes invite that pressure because when somebody comes from the second level, if you're heady enough, if you're athletic enough, and you're strong enough, you can get away from that guy. You can ward that defender off and be able to throw it to the void. So it's going to be interesting to watch Drake Maye work.
I'm excited. I would say I thought this rookie quarterback class was awesome. I thought Drake Maye was, you know, worthy of the number one pick if no one else existed in this quarterback class. Like, this was a very good draft for that position.